Heat star Jimmy Butler expected to be back in the fold for Game 3 despite carrying a questionable tag into Saturday. By the numbers, nobody has been better than Butler this postseason. Perhaps the cafecito called for as this series shifts to MIA. Butler leading the association in postseason scoring with 35.5 per. That's a 12-point bump from his regular season output. Efficiency rating through the roof. This time of year is his time of year. Jim Buckets rattling off 8 straight playoff performances of 25+ on better than 50% from the field. Well, 50% of the time he works every time. CBS Soups analyst Tim Doyle aboard to offer his expertise. TD, down Butler, the Heat still almost stole Game 2 there in New York. Instead, we now have a best-of-5 series, now shifting to Miami. We know what he brings from a numbers standpoint, well outlined at the top here, but in your observation, what changes for the Heat when Butler's on the floor?
Well, I mean, he has turned himself into a Hall of Fame basketball player, Joe. He averaged 2 points a game, I repeat. The deuce, his first year in the NBA. You know, he was a late first-round pick. He had trouble shooting the ball from the perimeter, and he has really worked to become one of the best two-way players in the NBA. He's not on Kawhi Leonard standards because Kawhi's won multiple NBA championships, but he's like right below there. And during this playoff season, he has elevated himself to like a whole new category. I mean, he beat Giannis as an 8 seed on his home floor, and he had some like legendary performances. Oh, by the way, in that series, they had some comebacks of games of down 16, down 15. They go into Garden in game number 1 and knock off the Knicks, and then he doesn't play in game number 2. Now, could he have gone? I think he could have. And I think that they wanted to get him the extra rest because, you know, he's taken a lot of bumps and bruises. Even in the Bucks series, he was doubtful going into game number 3 with a glute injury. And he's an amazing player. What's he going to bring to the table? You remember the Seinfeld episode? Jimmy likes basketball. Mm-hmm. Jimmy's really good at basketball, and Jimmy's having postseason.
Let's hope Jimmy is not down in this one, still carrying the questionable tag, but Butler expected to play per head coach Eric Spoelstra. Let's turn those storylines now into money lines, TD. Heat given 4, totals 209. 330 tip in South Florida, also notable to some. Plenty to weigh. What's your sharpest play here on the game numbers?
I like the Knicks here. These teams played remarkably close games this year. The Knicks won the season series 3-1, but they won 2 games by a bucket. So these two teams are evenly matched. I think the points end up being the difference. Like, that's a really big edge. That's more than a 3. And I think there's opportunities. If you bet the Knicks, if they get a lead, you know, you can jump into middle village, right? Then all of a sudden, if they get a lead and then they become, you know, -4, well, now all of a sudden you got an 8-point middle there. That's how I honestly like to gamble. Especially when I take a dog, I'm always looking for live opportunities to jump in and hedge it and create a middle opportunity. They got a win, albeit it was ugly in game number 2. And you got to think the Heat are like, all right, now we're getting Jimmy back and they're at home. But I don't think we've seen the best of the Knicks just yet. They weren't great in game number 1. And in game number 2, kind of inconsistent. Josh Hart made some enormous threes. Jalen Brunson's been a bit banged up. Julius Randle's been banged up. So I think that they were kind of coming into their own. We saw the best version of them in the 4th quarter. I think the points are the difference here. I'm going to take the dog.
All right, scooping up those 4. We know not a whole lot of wiggle room between that number 4 and what Tim Doyle expects in this one. Thank you, Timmy.
Yeah, Joe.
On the West Coast, NorCal and SoCal will clash again, this time at the Crypto Crib. Lakers and Dubs tied at a game aside after splash season took full effect in Game 2. Klay Thompson coming off 30 with 8 threes and now looking to show out in the city called home prior to his professional career. Major storyline on the Lakers side in Game 2 was the David Blaine-like performance from Anthony Davis. Poof, gone. The big fella following up 30 and 23 in Game 1 with 11 and 7 in the blowout Game 2 loss. Tim Doyle back in the mix. TD, let's talk AD. The points tell a story, but the boards do as well. Davis far less active across the entire box score in Game 2. What sort of performance do you expect tonight out of Davis and the Lakers as this whole team sort of laid down in Game 2?
Yeah, interesting. It's like, all right, we stole that win. Let's go home, and now they have home court advantage. You know, an opportunity to go up 2-0. They got run out the gym. If you watch Anthony Davis on like a graph, right, it's been up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. No one who can clearly match up with him. Now, is this LeBron's job to get him involved early? You know, it might be. LeBron got himself going last game, made 9 of his first 13 shots, but maybe he has to put a little extra emphasis on making Anthony look in the mirror and say, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and God darn it, people like me. Get me the basketball. So important to like get him some touches early, get him in a rhythm. Golden State has no matchup for him. I love Draymond Green because I'm like a bad version of him as far as a glue guy, but he can't guard Anthony Davis. Talk about 5 inches. I mean, it's just he could have a mismatch. So it's going to be imperative for the Lakers to get him going early.
Yeah, I felt like a big miss there in game 2 with Kevon Looney also limited. AD not able to get going. We'll see if that's the focus here in game 3. All of that in mind, Lakers are laying a triple, totals 228.5. My eyes go under. What grabs your attention, TD?
It was right around that number last game. So interesting enough, they set it right there again. I'm going to be hammering the Warriors. I'm not a Lakers believer. Now you go, oh, they won game 1. Yeah, but that was game 1 after the Warriors just had a very emotional series against Sacramento, right? Steph's got the 50 burger. They knock off Sacramento, light the beam, no more. And then it's like game 1 against the Lakers. And like the Lakers were kind of hanging out, like waiting for them. And they caught them. That was a really exciting game. But I thought the Warriors got back into their rhythm. Now you could say the Lakers laid down. I just look at it as like, I trust Golden State. When I look at the Lakers, they beat the Grizzlies. Like there was a lot going on there with Memphis, right? Like, Ja had the issues, and Dylan Brooks, the season ends, they're like, you're no longer associated with this franchise. Like, so there's obviously some problems there in Memphis. And give the Lakers credit, they won that series, but, you know, they caught Golden State in game 1 off of that series. So I trust Steph. I trust that Clay finally found his offensive rhythm, and I'm getting points. I mean, come on, give me the Warriors.
All right, it is time now for your Geico 15